Oh, how did I get started? I was living in Florida at the time, in Palm Harbor. It's on the west coast of Florida, just north of St. Pete. And I had heard about a famous trainer that had been that was going to come down and help the volunteer trainers train them to be better trainers than we already were. And so I was very excited about that, and so I joined the program a year before and became a volunteer trainer at the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. And I kind of got hooked on it. There are a lot of dogs there that needed really just to be shown the ropes as to how to live in a domestic world. And a lot of people get large breed dogs, mixed breeds, that don't really have any idea what they're getting into. And so when a dog reaches adolescence, anywhere between 6 to 8 months, that dog will be all of a sudden become kind of belligerent. The puppy you knew that would do everything you said is no longer there. It's like a teenager or somebody or a toddler going through the terrible tubes. So a lot of people end up not taking their dogs for walks anymore because it's just too hard. They get pulled down the street. And because of that, they get confined to the house at first. And if they're not being exercised enough, they start chewing up the house. So then they get put out in the backyard, and then they become territorial and sometimes aggressive. And then so they get turned into a shelter. And there are a lot of good dogs there. They just never got the training, the exercise, the discipline that they needed from the time they were puppies. People tend to spoil puppies, and so the challenge is to find out why it's doing that. And a lot of times people don't know because they just adopted the dog. It might be 3, 4, 5 years old, and all they know is every time they walk down the street, it's trying to attack other dogs. It also is not very polite to people, would nip and bite, and so the challenge for me is to try and win the dog's confidence, not really win, but to obtain the dog's confidence as early as possible without pushing it. I don't find a difference either in puppies. A puppy's a puppy.
Puppies harder to train?
No, puppies are much easier to train. You're kind of getting a clean slate there. Adult dogs, they're easy enough to train, but you also have some retraining to do. Start breaking some of the bad habits they've had and at least help the customer, the owner of the dog, do that. And so that sometimes can be more difficult, especially when it's a rescue dog and we don't know how these things got started. We just know what the actions are, and when you get right down to it, it really doesn't matter why the dog is acting that way. We just need to find a way to change the way it acts or responds to certain situations. Like when I got this dog, and his breeding was half Labrador and half Dog de Bordeaux, which is can be a big guardian type dog, a bully breed. I didn't know what his temperament would be like, and so I made sure that he understood that he never had to protect me, that I would do all the protecting for him and for myself, and he didn't have to step in. He would not have to step in, because I didn't want the liability of him biting somebody or biting somebody else's dog. And when they're this strong, you have to get verbal control over the dog right away. Leash control, no. Dogs like this can pull 3,000 pounds. You can put a prong collar on the dog and he can pull you off your feet and drag you through the woods, and he's done it, so I know. It's correcting a lot of the fallacies or improper belief systems that their owners have as to how they should train or what their animal should do. For example, you'll see a lot of people, I'm sure you've seen it walking through a store, when they ask their dog to sit, they pull up on that collar really hard, and it might be a prong collar or a choke chain. They're going, sit, sit, sit. And that's a form of training we call negative reinforcement or nagging. And the dog doesn't sit until it decides, all right, all right, all right, I've had enough, I'll sit down. Stop the nagging. And then the nagging stops. Walk up to the dog without saying a word. Just say, sit. Or without saying sit. And the dog will sit for me. Without ever having been taught the sign language or the signals that we use in lure and reward. And it's pretty amazing to watch that. And so when I see people see that they don't have to treat their dogs like soldiers, they're not soldiers. Imagine if somebody came up to you and said, Lynn, sit. And that's how some people talk to their dog. And if you didn't move right away, they kept going, sit. And imagine if you don't know what the word means. If I came up to you and said, Lynn, shut.
That's how
And you didn't do it, so I kept going louder. Shut! Shut! Which is Polish for sit. That's how dogs feel. I don't understand. What do you want me to do? So we show them how to do it without physically manipulating them. And so teaching people that too is also nice. Lure and reward them into the position, then they know what the word means. But first, the hand signals. Then after we do the hand signals, we teach them the words to associate with it. And it's just all basic psychology. Right, big guy? That's right.